Cherie Burns is never far from a golf course, and now it's about to become her office full-time. After several years starring as an amateur at both state and Australian level, the 24-year-old has turned professional.
I'll probably spend a couple of years in Europe and then try and qualify for the US, like the main tour in the US. And yeah, hopefully I'm there competing with Kari Webb and the likes.
But that can only happen if Cherie finishes in the top 30 in the Tour School event in Portugal starting next week, and she still doesn't have her visa.
I actually sent my visa by registered post and it hasn't arrived.
When she does get there, however, her coach Peter Knight believes winning her tour card will be a formality.
It's definitely the right move. She's one of the best players in the country, and she's certainly proved that again last week during the Interstate Series where she went through and won every match.
While Burns awaits her visa to arrive, fellow champion state representative Joe Wally is waiting a little longer to turn professional. The Toronto-based left-hander finished runner-up at the recent Australian Championships and won the region's Champion of Champions trophy yesterday. She hopes to follow Burns in the pro ranks sometime soon as well.
School halls across the region fell silent as students madly penned their best answers. The first English paper well accepted.
It wasn't that difficult, but it was just the same as the trials, I guess.
All you had to know is how to read and how to write. That's basically it.
I think it went pretty well. I was just glad to get it over and done with, but another one tomorrow, and another one next week and the week after that, so a lot of studying.
The hunter represents more than 10% of the state's HSC students, with the Department of Education urging them to carefully consider their futures.
It's important in today's society to look at the vast range of opportunities, the vast range of current, new and changing jobs, and they need to think carefully about that before they make their decision as to what to do next.
Meantime, a restructure of secondary education will see 29 new senior teaching positions created in the Hunter. The new teachers will focus on vocational-based subjects like computing studies and industrial arts. Paul Lobb, NBN News. 3 years ago, Peter Tressida led the first Australian team to ski overland to the North Pole, a distance of 1,400 kilometres. Last October, Peter and English explorer Tim Jarvis attempted an even bigger challenge, to ski 2,400 kilometres across the entire Antarctic continent. They made it 3/4 of the way before fuel leaked into their packaged food.
So we were faced with a situation of enough food to go on, but not enough food to complete the crossing. And so in the end, for the benefit of everybody involved and the lives of the people that would have to come and rescue us, we turned around and skied back to the pole. In Newcastle for a speaking tour, he says his adventures are inspired by early explorers like Mawson and Scott. I have more of a fascination with the achievement and a fascination with the history and the people that have gone before me, with some quirk of going in there and trying to emulate what they've done and seeing if I can do it for myself, I guess. Peter will speak at the Newcastle Workers Club tomorrow night with proceeds to children's charities. He wants his adventures to inspire others. I'm hoping the audience will walk away realising that anything's possible. Paul Lobb, NBN News.
If you ever needed proof that sporting ability is in the blood, then the Blair family could be it. While eldest brother Josh has been a regular and successful competitor in the Ironman Super Series for some time, Shane and Jacob head to Queensland's Sunshine Coast this weekend in an effort to join him. But it'll be tough. Only 9 berths in the series are up for grabs at the qualifying event, and they have 88 rivals.
Yeah, I think I'll go quite well. I've done plenty of work this season. I've been training quite well, and I'm just hoping to go up there and qualify and make the series again.
16-year-old Jacob, meanwhile, is treating it as a chance to size up the opposition.
I'm just going up to get a bit of experience this year, just try and learn a few things, a few pointers.
If both make the series, it'll provide an interesting situation for Josh in his battle with reigning champion Kai Hurst, should he employ team tactics.
If we're all together, I suppose that could come into play, but no, I think every man's on the day is your enemy, and you're out there to win the race.
Which begs the question, who is the best Blair?
Probably Josh.
Are you just saying that because he's bigger than you?
Yeah, probably.
Discussing new medical advances used to mean doctors travelling large distances to attend conferences around the world. But now, thanks to modern technology, that's no longer necessary.
It's just like talking to someone just down the road. And we all have much the same problems. People come up with different ways of solving them, and sharing those ideas and innovations is really important to make the health system work better.
Health professionals from John Hunter Hospital were able to talk to an audience of around 60 health administrators in Northern Ireland today. The purpose of the teleconference discussing a new system of preparing patients for surgery.
It's now becoming the standard system, has been mandated in New South Wales by the Health Minister late last year. But in Ireland, I gather that they're still doing this fairly traditionally.
And with advances in technology moving at such a rapid rate, the future possibilities are endless.
I suppose before long we'll be sitting at home and treating patients all over the world, maybe.
Tanya Carlisle, NBN News. A high percentage of premature babies are born to mothers who have experienced preeclampsia, a condition which, among other things, causes high blood pressure. Now, researchers at Newcastle's John Hunter Hospital are trying to find out exactly how this condition can affect a baby.
We know there are changes in the blood vessels in mum caused by her preeclampsia that go away when she delivers her baby, and we know that some of the factors that cause those pass over to baby. But because there haven't been good ways of investigating that, some of the effects in the babies are not very well understood.
It's thought that the cardiovascular profile of an individual may be programmed by events experienced in the uterus, such as if the mother suffers from conditions like preeclampsia.
These may well affect the baby's blood flow and may affect the baby both if it's sick in the newborn period or further down the line.
The state-of-the-art laser Doppler machine allows researchers to non-invasively investigate the function of blood vessels in premature babies.
We can compare babies where mums have had preeclampsia with those where they haven't and see if there are any differences between them.
The study will take 12 months to complete and will involve around 50 babies. Tanya Carlisle, NBN News.
That was KB United beating South Melbourne back in the early 1980s, and tonight NSL soccer returns to Marathon Stadium after an absence of 16 years. In those days, crowds often ballooned over 15,000 people, and Newcastle United hope tonight can be the start of those great times once again. New boy Asala Massey is used to playing in front of such crowds and can't wait to run out tonight.
It'll be very good to run out in front of 10 to 15,000. It'll be an advantage to us playing at home with that big crowd. I think it'll be a big boost for the boys.
In fact, the big Fijian has prepared in his own unique way, shaving his head as he often does before big games.
It's just smart look before the game, playing at home in front of a home crowd.
And the crowds are already rolling in at Marathon. More than 60 corporate boxes sold, along with 300 season tickets this week alone. With the Hunters Olympians and Rugby League World Cup representatives to be presented, a huge crowd is expected. Jim Callanan, NBN News. After a marathon morning meeting, all parties left feeling better for it. The Players Association confident of getting the Warriors players what they're owed.
The feeling is that it will be, however we are a long way from the conclusion.
The NRL is happy a World Cup player boycott has been averted.
We're obviously very concerned and we're really pleased that that's been averted, and now that players can focus on what's obviously a trip of a lifetime to some of those players.
Conceding they'd let the issue drag on, NRL Chief Executive David Moffat will now join the Players Association and player managers in a meeting with the Warriors' new owners next Tuesday in New Zealand to discuss further the outstanding player payments.
We can't allow this to occur on a regular basis, if at all, again.
Meanwhile, the Kangaroos are trying to maintain focus on the job of winning the World Cup. The team flies out on Sunday for the 6-week English tour, including Matthew Gidley, who's almost fully recovered from a knee injury.
Yeah, he's come along well. I've been to physio most days this week, but most of the swelling's gone down, and I've been doing some running and that sort of thing, and some weights on my knee. So, but I'm confident it'll be fine for the first game.
This is the sight Michael Guest fans love to see. This isn't. The car on stocks and out of the rally after brushing a wall.
I've only just brushed it, but because of the angle the wheel that was on, it's busted the bottom mount that holds the wheel in place, and that's the end of our rally. Just something as simple as that.
Guest can now look forward to racing on home soil in Rally Australia. Closer to home, and Adam McDougall showed last night that as a speedway driver, he's a great footballer. He survived the demonstration drive to fly out with his kangaroo teammates tonight. The driver of the night went to 19-year-old David Robinson. The teenager was locked in a wheel-to-wheel duel for most of the final Super Sedan feature, before tearing away to win from Scott McPherson and Keith Sims.
Jim Delaney holds fears for the safety of his staff following an attack on his business, the Hydro Shop. 3 shots from what appears to have been a high-powered rifle were fired at around 1 o'clock this morning, penetrating the window just centimetres from where staff work after hours.
The bullet that came through the office was very close to where one of our main guys here would be working. It was close to where his head would be. So if he'd been sitting here working late at night, which he often does, he'd probably be dead today.
Mr Delaney says the incident is the latest in a long line of attacks on his shop and blames the location, Mayfield West, as a major cause.
Yeah, I think it's just a history of malicious damage that occurs in this area.
Wallsend police say they don't have any suspects at this stage.
Some at the Francis household may have been wondering what all the fuss was about, but make no mistake, the mood was high.
I'm still red-eyed from crying with joy. It was just fantastic.
And it was, for so many reasons. Just 6 weeks ago, Heath was on crutches, unable to walk, let alone run, with stress fractures in both feet. But little has ever got in the way of this 18-year-old.
Yeah, I think he always wanted to be better, prove himself, show that, nothing was going to hold him back. Yeah. And probably the first time was beat older brother, and then he did that before he left high school, and then from there he's just gone and beaten everyone else.
It's been the story of the teenager's life. After losing his forearm in a farm accident aged 7, Heath has never let it stop him from achieving.
Swimming, playing tennis, playing cricket, playing the piano. Nothing stopped him.
The 18-year-old still has 2 relays and the 200 metres to race, but there are even loftier goals on the list.
He's state champion for able-bodied as well, so there's always a dream that he might be able to compete in the Olympics, and while he's got that dream, there's always that goal to strive for.
For swimmer Gemma Dashwood, it's been a perfect end to a spectacular career, blitzing the field in her 400-metre event. That made 4 career goals in all and a great way to retire. Kurrambong's Elizabeth Wright also won silver in her freestyle event. The team to play Auckland won't be released until tomorrow, but Bob Catlin will not head across the Tasman this weekend.
He'll train tomorrow. He probably won't make the trip to Auckland, and hopefully he'll have the baby between now and the time we go to Auckland and the time we get back.
Sydney-based Catlin has been unable to properly train with the club as his pregnant wife is expecting at any time, and given the problems United showed on set pieces against Brisbane, Sterry isn't about to panic.
There were some areas that concern me, but nothing too tragic at the moment. But certainly they all know they've got to pull their socks up.
After round 2, Sydney United has surprised many by leading the league ladder with back-to-back wins. Newcastle, meanwhile, sit 4th from the bottom with 1 point and hungry for its first win of the season. Meanwhile, Brad Widgerek will play on despite a calf muscle injury, and while neither coach was overly impressed with the Marathon Stadium surface, as a venue, it couldn't be faulted. He's never played higher than under 16, so teenager Mitchell O'Brien's ride in the NSL has been a rapid one, to say the least. The 16-year-old hasn't even played Youth League, but will head to Auckland this weekend with Newcastle United's first-grade side.
It's a huge step. He's walking around at the moment at training probably with his head in the clouds, you know, wondering, rubbing shoulders with blokes he probably wouldn't have dreamed about rubbing shoulders with.
Sterry's hand has been forced somewhat, given the fact he's without Bob Catlin, who's staying close to his Sydney home and pregnant wife.
His wife hasn't delivered the baby yet, so maybe it comes back to Bobby being a courier. They don't want to deliver the parcels, you know, I don't know, but...
Until then, Brad Swancott is still the first choice keeper and will start in a squad that won't change for the Auckland match. The team will train in Sydney tomorrow night before flying out for New Zealand on Thursday to prepare for Friday night's game in Auckland.
Get all our off-field things right, and at the end of the day we just got to perform for the 90.
Never played higher than under 16.
So what does Newcastle Airport think of any plan to have flights leaving the region bound for Sydney land in Bankstown?
Depending on the infrastructure that they provide from Bankstown into Mascot and then further into the city, I would think it could be an increased inconvenience.
A memo from Transport Minister John Anderson emphasised, "My position that the regional airlines cannot in any way be forced to move to Bankstown has not changed, is understood and accepted." The memo pointed out that reports regionals would have to land in Bankstown were wrong and that there had been no decision on the matter, only free-flowing discussion.
But that said, we don't know what size of aircraft will be affected. Currently, most of our passenger traffic go to Sydney on a 33-seater. That may well be outside of the small aircraft requirement going into Bankstown.
But we don't know, do we?
We haven't got a clue yet.
And supporters for Kooragang International Airport say the government should now have extra cash to build the very fast train vital for the Kooragang plan because Badgerys Creek is off the drawing board.
The federal government, of course, has made their decision for all their reasons, but they will not be out there supporting another proposal while they've still got Kingsford Smith to sell.
This is crime prevention Raymond Terrace style. Steel bars across the back door of a business which has come under sustained attack. During the 3 months Vodafone has been in William Street, the shop has been attacked 6 times, twice last week. Up to 40 youths reportedly went on a rampage on Saturday night, shattering 8 shop windows and people's sense of security. Most shop owners believe the problem lies in a lack of police numbers.
I think the police are undermanned here. They're under a lot of stress and strain and under a lot of pressure from the public, but they simply are not large enough.
The police should be out there monitoring, walking up and down, having security patrols. They've only got 3 policemen working there every night.
But the unrest isn't restricted to William Street.
Kicking down their fences, throwing urine-filled bottles out into their backyards, used syringes, condoms, you know, some fairly disturbing things.
The vandalism appears to be worsening and business owners, community leaders and some members of council are considering a number of solutions. One option is employing a private security firm to patrol the streets. Another suggestion is enforcing a curfew.
I reckon it'd be ideal for this town because the kids are they're just out all night.
There's rarely a dull moment in speedway racing, but another ingredient has been added at the track just to get the spectators even closer to the edge of their seat. 100 tonnes of dirt has been packed onto the raceway for stadium off-road racing, shaped into jumps and making man and his machine fly.
The jumps obviously just add that extra element of racing. You know, they spend more time in the air than on the ground, and it just makes it that more exciting.
Sydney's Wayne Attard will be part of that excitement in his 4-cylinder Dodge Dakota.
We specialise in off-road racing, so this is our thing.
Revving up their engines will be up to 100 competitors across 4 divisions: off-road trucks, buggies and, for the first time on Saturday, supercross and motocross bikes.
Fast you hit it, you land on the back wheel first so you don't land so hard, and I'll be racing the 125, the 250 and the 4-stroke. So, yeah, as I said again, it's all new to me, so I'm looking forward to just coming out here and having fun.
Catherine Turner, NBN News.
These chairs are usually filled with people who would give anything to buy the artworks inside the Von Bertaux Gallery. And if they don't respond to that bell and roll call, they have only 40 minutes to front up and have their name marked off, or else they're relegated to the back of the line. A tragedy when the sales are based on first in, best pick. So to ensure a good spot in the waiting line, some art lovers have been queuing here since Monday afternoon.
Because I'm probably a mad collector. I started about 10 years ago, collecting on the Saturday after the show, and now I've run it twice, and I'm up to #1 position.
None of the works cost more than $480, a deal sweet enough to have attracted some people to all 37 of its previous annual sales.
We all enjoy one another and the ambience of the art anyway, and if I get something wonderful at the end, that's a bonus.
Doors open for sales at 7 p.m. tonight. Adam Harper, NBN News.
Blind for the last decade, 31-year-old Mitchell White says he was first banned from Newcastle Council's Stockton pool 3 years ago and still can't get in.
I put my dollar on the counter and that, more or less to pay, and I try and go in. And every time I do, I get turned away.
The manager says council has a duty of care to both Mitchell and the general public to ensure the pool is safe for all users.
If Mr White has an observer with him, he'll be allowed to come into the pool and use the pool, just like anybody else.
Mitchell claims he's no risk in the pool, and while council officers are trying to find him an observer, he says he doesn't want or need the help.
I want to have rights to go into the pool whenever I like on really hot days.
While Lake Macquarie and Port Stephens Council pools acknowledge they may require similar special conditions during busy times, the Royal Blind Society says there's no reason for treating blind people any differently.
It's a question of equality, equal opportunity, and I think that a person doesn't lose their right to participate in the community because they are blind.
Some people might think that it's discrimination against a blind person. What would you say to that?
I believe we're making the facility available for Mr White if he wishes to use it under a condition.
On the job front, it's all good news for the hunter.
Over the past year, we've gained about 37,000 jobs in the region, which translates into annual employment growth of about 15% in the Hunter, compared with about 3.5% in the nation.
Unemployment is now at 8.6% compared to 5.5% for the state overall. The improvement has slowed over the last month, but the upward trend since last year's September report is a huge positive for the region. But there are some negatives. Car salesmen will be having trouble smiling with their sales figures for new passenger cars, down by more than 10%. And the building industry could be set to slide, with residential approvals down almost 10%, while non-residential approvals have fallen by 9.3%. All those figures may have a lot to do with the GST. Car sales may already be on the improve as prices fall, but builders could be in for a tough patch.
We would have seen building activity continue up until about June or July this year, and since then we'll be passing into a downward phase of the cycle.
An Auckland mascot or a bad omen? Either way, it was a dog of the first half for Newcastle at Ericsson Stadium. Mark Wilson scored the only goal here last season, and in just the second minute, it was almost deja vu. But in the 8th minute, New Zealand launched its first real attack at United's goal, and if Newcastle coach Lee Sterry was angry at his defence last weekend, he would have been fuming after seeing this. It was to be a homecoming for Auckland Rays Chris Zoricic, but a terrible clearance for the Newcastle defender fell perfectly for Tim Stevens. Fellow new recruit Peter Sekenis had headaches as well after a nasty knock. He left his mark on Auckland's Andy Bloom, but Sekenis' night was over. On came skipper Glenn Sprott, whose first touch earned a yellow card. But Stevens had the last laugh again. After some ordinary work at the back, again from United, another failed clearance, and Stevens poached his second goal. Opportunity just before half-time, but 2-0 was how it